Matt the Beast Bonner, as we get nearer to your Cage Warriors world title fight, how are things with you?
Things have gone really well. Yeah, it's a little bit of cliche, isn't it, when you say, oh, this camp's been the best camp so far, but this camp has been the best camp so far. You know, no really kind of crazy injuries or anything. It's gone super quick, so looking forward to it.
Let's talk about your opponent, the middleweight champ, Nathias Frederick. How do you view him as a style matchup in comparison with your style?
I think he's got quite a tough style to fight, because he is so wild.
Yes.
Especially with me training at next year, and you get used to kind of these very technical, very good boxers, Thai boxers. I've got twin brothers, very good Thai boxers as well. Where he's kind of the polar opposite. He's wild. He throws everything behind his shots. He's aggressive. Well, I think I again lean towards the more technical side. I'd like to think I do anyway. So yeah, it's a kind of a clash of styles, but that's what makes MMA so fun, I think, and to watch. Is
it difficult preparing for someone as wild as Frederick, because you obviously have an anticipation of what he's going to do, but at the same time it's easier said than done, isn't it?
It's tough, and it's not so much for the reasons you'd think. I tend to think I'm a little bit better than Frederick everywhere.
Okay.
In terms of on the feet and on the ground. Whereas if you're fighting someone who's like James Webb, for instance, was a very good grappler. So the game plan is to keep it stand up. If you go get someone who's got really good stand up, the game plan might be to take it down. Because I do feel I've got the edge in all the departments. It kind of blurs the game plan a little bit. There's no obvious route to win, because I think I can probably win everywhere without kind of sounding cocky. So that's the only thing that's kind of not throwing me off, but that's the thing I've got to be aware of. That it's very much a game plan that's going to need to be adjusted as the fight progresses, I think.
I'll ask you a difficult question now, twofold. What is the biggest single advantage you feel you hold over Nathias Frederick?
I think it is technical ability. Yeah, I think, again, everywhere. I think he's very strong, he's very explosive, and he hits hard, but he doesn't necessarily look tidy as he does it. Yeah. Whereas I think I hit just as hard as Frederick. I've just not really been able to show that yet in a fight. Yeah. So I think technical ability, I have the upper hand there.
What is the biggest single advantage Nathias Frederick holds over you?
I think it's probably that he has gone the 5 rounds before.
Yes.
Being a title, you know, he fought 4 against Webb, he fought 5 before that against Webb. So we know he's got that gas tank. I know I've got that gas tank as well, but he's actually shown it in a fight with the adrenaline and with the crowds. Obviously there was crowds when he first won the title. So I guess if you've got to say an advantage would be that he's actually been there and done the 5 rounds.
You've also been very active in this last 12-month period. Is that maybe another advantage that you feel? Obviously Frederick has been active to be fair, but you have had a lot of fights in quite a short space of time.
I fought September, December, and then March against James Webb, and every single kind of fight, you know, after the other, you feel that little bit more confident. Especially for the James Webb fight, I did feel like another day in the office. There was no kind of, there was nerves, but it wasn't in terms of an uncomfortable nerves. It was, let's go in there and take this opportunity and, you know, push on for this title fight. So I've always liked to keep active. If I'm not injured, if there is a possible fight, I want to be fighting. I enjoy fighting, enjoy being in the gym.
This 3-fight win streak you're on now with 2 finishes, you're probably on the best form of your career. Is that a fair statement to make?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. What is it like? Obviously, this is going to be your first headline bout on the Cage Warriors on the Thursday night, the first night of the trilogy in June. Is that any extra anticipation, any extra pressure at all?
No, I don't think so. Like I said, it might be best asking me that 5 minutes before I walk in, but no, it doesn't feel like there's more pressure. I think after I fought James Richardson, you know, 3 fights ago, and it was probably the worst I've ever performed, because I did put all the pressure on myself, and I remember coming out of that fight and texting my girlfriend and saying, I don't even know why I do this anymore, I hate doing it, the nerves ruin it, and this and this. And after the fight, it was kind of a complete flip of the coin, where I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go out there and enjoy it. I'm not going to put any pressure on myself. I want to go out there and do the very best I can. And ever since that kind of change of attitude, it's all gone really well. That's, like you say, it's been the best kind of, you know, trajectory of my career has been after that James Richardson fight. So I think I'd like to think it's going to be the same. I'm just going to go in there and say, let's go in there, give it as good as I can, and if I win, I'm a world champion. If I lose, we'll figure it out afterwards.
And being at the gym this morning, there's a lot of guys out. Next Gen has always been one of them gyms, in my opinion, that's kind of synonymous with the Cage Warriors. We've got a lot of guys go through Cage Warriors and then progress into other organisations. With all you guys training for fights within a 2 or 3 day period, that's got to help in terms of your preparation.
You don't realise how sharp you are until you get the odd guy who comes in from another gym. We had a couple of fellas come in last Tuesday, and they were good lads and good ability, but they come in, you think, you know what, everything that we've practiced beforehand is working so well on these guys. Obviously, when you're training with your training partner downstairs, they're going through the same kind of coaching process, so they know what moves you're going to go for and they can anticipate them. When you go against these new guys who come in, they have no idea, and you can just see how sharp and how well everything's working. So again, you kind of hope you take that into the fight. Everything that we've done downstairs, it is going to come off on fight night.
Who have you primarily been working with for this camp in terms of training partners? I
work quite a lot with Paddy. I work a lot with Ben Kelly, who's making his pro debut in August. He's a big young welterweight. There's bigger guys. Mustafa is 6'7". He fights at light heavyweight. So it's generally the bigger guys in the gym. And next gen's very much well known for the bantamweights and the featherweights and stuff. But there is, I said after the George Smith fight, I trained a lot with Adam Cullen, who was downstairs wrestling before, and he's a lightweight. Adam Cullen felt twice as strong as George Smith. And then James Webb, I anticipated he was going to feel super strong because he was got, come fight night, I'd imagine he was like 5 kilo heavier than me. And again, the guys downstairs are welterweights, lightweights, but they feel so strong compared to these other guys who I'm coming up against.
It's a good point that you mentioned there, that next gen is also synonymous with some of the smaller weight classes. Is that a difficulty for you, finding guys with these strength advantages over you?
It's not. I still feel like the guys who I'm training with are super tough, really strong. Ben Kelly's making his pro debut in September, August, but he's my level and I'm fighting for a world title. I'm 16 fights into my pro career. He's making his first and he's still, he can still hang with me for every second of the round. I do feel at some point I am gonna, we've talked to this a lot with Paul Rimmer, bring in some bigger guys, or even maybe go and travel elsewhere, abroad or something, and try and find some bigger guys. But it's gone so well that I guess I would have to look at that if I went against Frederick and felt super strong. Maybe then I'd make a change, but currently it's working so well that I've never felt the need to.
Is there someone, obviously we don't want to look too far ahead, but assuming you win this world title next week, is there someone you think that is the next person in line for you to defend it against?
They seem to kind of pairing up this Ken Cockman fight. He's fighting Justin Moore the day after me. There's the George Smith-McStanton fight. I still think those, especially Stanton's probably got a way to go before he competes for the title. George Smith, I think, would probably need at least another 2 fights if he won Stanton. You've got the Will Curry, Christine Duncan fight, but again, both of those guys are still quite early on in their careers. In terms of, I'd say Ken Cockman would be the guy to look for. I think Cage Royce seemed to want to push him as well. He's got Bellator experience and he did well against Jamie Richardson, won Jamie Richardson. So that's the fight which I can see coming up in the future.
Well, let's, for one final question, turn back to the fight at hand. Matt, I've got to ask you, give me a prediction for next Thursday.
It's a tough one. It's a super tough one. I'd like to think I do get a finish in the second round. Whether that'll be by a sub or some kind of TKO knockout finish. I'd say I think it's done in 3 rounds.
Super. Well, it's a fantastic fight as a main event to kick off this trilogy, and it was great to sit down and talk to you. Before we finish, Matt, how can people find you on social media?
I'm on Instagram, Matt Beastbonner. Facebook is the same name and Twitter's the same name as well.
And for one final question, the floor is yours. Anything you'd like to say or sign off with?
So thanks very much to Connection, obviously, for looking after me camp, sponsors, Tunnel Vision, Essence of Nature, 4 Kitchens, Performance Box. There's definitely one there which I forgot. Feel Supreme. I'm sure there's another one I've forgotten about. I'll get told off for, but thanks for them for helping me support the camp.
Superb. Great to talk to you.
Thank you, buddy.